to The Blend. It's a nonprofit organization offering support to victims of tragedy. It's called TIP, and they're looking for volunteers to help.
That is right. Here with more about TIP is CEO Jill Bernacki. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning.
Good morning. So TIP stands for Trauma Intervention Program.
Yes.
What made you want to get involved with TIP?
Initially, I just wanted to give back to the community. I started as a volunteer with the organization and thought that it would be rewarding to be with people in that immediate aftermath of tragedy, which is what we do. We get called out by emergency responders to go to the scene of an accident, death, a suicide, any type of tragedy, and we're there with the families, we're there with the friends, bystanders, witnesses to provide support.
And every day you watch the news and you see these stories. They might be quick little blurbs, but behind that little blurb, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt.
Absolutely.
How many scenes and how many people have you helped so far this year?
This year, we've responded to over 600 scenes at the
Wow.
request of emergency response.
Wow.
Yeah.
What constitutes as a traumatic scene? I mean, because people could say, oh, a car accident's traumatic to them. Another person could say that that's not as traumatic, but a
be a
death
fire.
is,
Yeah.
a fire.
Absolutely.
What constitutes?
So any of those
Okay.
that you mentioned. So what happens is that the emergency responders start the process of calling us out to a scene.
Okay.
So when the law enforcement officer or paramedic arrives to a scene and they establish a need for either practical or emotional support, they'll call us out to the scene. So it could be a fire, it could be sexual assault, it could be after a robbery takes place. 95% of the time it's after a death takes place. And that could be a homicide, a suicide, an accident, or also a natural death
Absolutely.
in someone's home.
As the emergency responders are there to take care of the situation, you as TIP are there to take care of the family or the people that are involved. Is that correct? The emotional side of it?
Exactly, exactly. And you know, every person that's in law enforcement, that is a paramedic, that's on that side, they have a big heart. That's why they've decided to be in that field. And I'm sure if they had the time and opportunity, they would sit with those individuals.
Of course.
But they don't have that time.
They have a
and
duty
we
to
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what service do you provide them once you're there?
It depends. It depends on their specific circumstances. We teach our volunteers to pay attention to the verbal and nonverbal cues that these individuals give us to let us know what it is that they need. Sometimes they just need emotional support.
Yeah.
Other times they start asking questions like, how do I plan a funeral? Or what do I do with Social Security? Or how do I tell the kids?
There's a lot of that logistical stuff that you really don't think of in that situation. Yeah.
Right. So we're able to help them with those practical things as well as the emotional side.
How long has TIP been around? Because I think unless a family has gone through a traumatic situation, you don't really know this side of the responders. So how long have you been around? What's been the response from the community?
That's a great question. We've been here in Southern Nevada for 22 years.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, and you're right. If you're not an emergency responder or you haven't had to use our services, a lot of times people have never heard of us.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's definitely a service that's needed out there in the community.
Yeah.
No question. So you need volunteers to be able to help the community and help serve that need there. How do you become a volunteer, and how much time does it take to be a volunteer?
Our volunteers are phenomenal individuals. They range from we have a judge, we have a fire chief, we have stay-at-home moms, we have students, and everywhere in between. But the common denominator between all of them is having a compassionate heart and the desire to help people.
Yeah.
We teach them everything that they need to know to be helpful on a scene. But what they do need to do is be 16 years of age or older, have a valid driver's license, pass a background check, we check drivers' records and things like that. And then the commitment to be a volunteer is 3 12-hour shifts a month after the initial training. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time that we're asking of our volunteers. But we have amazing volunteers who give so freely of themselves to the community, and we're always looking for volunteers.
And if you're unable to dedicate that time to volunteers, is there another way to give back?
Sure. On our website, there's a variety of different options, and one of them is to become a scene supporter, and that's by donating financially to our organization. A lot of times people either can't give the time or they don't feel like they would be able to go out on a scene. It's difficult.
It
It's
takes an
definitely
emotional toll.
not for everyone. Right. So giving financially to the organization, or we have opportunities for businesses or individuals to do resource drives where they can collect items that we give out to individuals in the community. So there's a variety
There's
of
a
things
way
they
to
can do.
help. Yeah, you don't always have to be on the scene.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, and for
great
your
having you.
commitment, almost a
you.
decade under your belt, so it's
Yes.
huge.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. TIP's new volunteer training academy starts Thursday and runs through next Friday, the 22nd. It is at the Henderson Fire Training Center near the 95 in Warm Springs. To find out more, just call the number or head to the website you see right there on your screen.
And do you know someone who truly